You know that feeling when just reaching for something on a shelf sends a sharp pain through your shoulder?
Yeah, it's unfortunately really common.
And finding ways to deal with serious shoulder joint issues, well, that's becoming a bigger and bigger need.
Absolutely. And for the more advanced problems, shoulder replacement surgery it's really vital
Yeah.
and increasingly common too.
Which brings us perfectly to what we're digging into today. We're looking at the global market for these shoulder replacements, specifically where things stand in 2025.
And crucially, where the trends suggest it's headed. We've got this really detailed market report here.
Yeah, it's packed with sales data, growth forecasts, details on the different kinds of procedures, who the end users are, regional trends across the globe.
So our mission here really is to pull out the key insights from all this data. We want to highlight the important trends, make sense of the numbers, and give you a solid grasp of this pretty significant slice of the medical device world.
And save you reading the whole report yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The report estimates the global shoulder replacement market for 2025 at, get this, USD 472.54 million. That's a pretty big number already.
It is substantial.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not staying there. The forecasts show some really significant growth.
Right. They're projecting it to hit USD 914.27 million by 2033.
That's nearly double in, 8 years? It's a major expansion.
And to put a finer point on that growth, the report gives a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 8.60% for that period, 2025 to 2033.
Yeah, that 8.6% CAGR, that really underlines a strong, consistent upward push.
So what's fueling this? What are the main things pushing these numbers up?
Well, the report points to two main drivers, primarily. First, the growing aging population worldwide. More people living longer means, more joint issues generally.
Makes sense. Wear and tear.
Exactly. And second, an increase in sports-related injuries. That's not just professionals, but across all age groups, staying active, sometimes pushing it a bit far.
Okay, so demographics and lifestyle. Now, how does this break down around the world? Where's the activity concentrated?
Right, geographically. So in 2025, North America is the big player. It holds the largest share.
How large?
We're talking USD 174.84 million. That's over 40% of the entire global market revenue.
Wow. Okay. And their growth?
Their projected CAGR, 2025 to 2033, it's steady, around 7.1%.
Okay, so North America is the current leader. What about Europe?
Europe's number two. Their market size in 2025 is estimated at USD 137.04 million.
Which is about?
A bit over 30% of the global total. And their growth rate, their CAGR, is slightly higher than North America's, actually 7.6%.
Okay, so North America and Europe are the big chunks right now. But where's the fastest growth happening? Where's the momentum?
That would be the Asia-Pacific region, APAC.
Okay.
Their 2025 market size is smaller. Yeah. USD 113.41 million, so roughly 23% of the global revenue.
What the growth rate?
That's where it gets interesting. Their projected CAGR is 11.4%.
11.4%. That's significantly higher.
It really is. That kind of growth rate in APAC, it signals a potentially huge shift, It suggests where future demand and maybe even innovation might really take off.
Yeah.
Companies are likely watching this very closely.
Absolutely. That's a big indicator for investment and focus. Okay, what about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa?
Sure. South America is looking at USD 17.96 million in 2025, with a pretty strong CAGR of 9.3%.
Okay.
The Middle East, slightly larger market at USD 18.90 million, and an even higher CAGR, 9.9%.
Yeah, interesting.
And Africa has a 2025 market size of about USD 10.40 million, growing at an 8.9% CAGR.
So if I'm hearing this right, North America dominates now, but the really dynamic growth, the highest percentage increases, are expected in APAC, the Middle East, and South America.
That's a good summary, yeah.
Are there specific countries driving things within those regions, like the U.S. and North America, or?
Exactly. The U.S. market is obviously huge. In APAC, China and India are really showing strong growth potential. And then in Europe, you've got the UK and Germany as major players. And Brazil stands out in South America.
Got it. That gives us a clearer map. Now, let's shift focus a bit to the procedures themselves. What are the main types of shoulder replacements we're talking about?
Okay, the report breaks it down into a few key categories. You have total shoulder replacement.
A whole joint.
Right. Then there's reverse shoulder replacement. I can talk more about that one. Partial shoulder replacement, shoulder resurfacing, which is less invasive, and revision shoulder arthroplasty.
Revision being fixing a previous one.
Exactly. When an earlier replacement fails or needs updating for some reason.
Okay. And which one is the most common right now?
Currently, total shoulder replacement is expected to sort of dominate the market volume.
Why is that?
It's mainly because it addresses the most common reasons people need replacement. Things like advanced osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or really severe injuries where the whole joint is compromised. That's often the most, well, comprehensive fix.
That makes sense. But you mentioned reverse shoulder replacement. The report highlighted something about its growth.
Yes, absolutely. Reverse shoulder replacement is pegged as the fastest growing segment.
Okay, why the rapid growth there? What makes it different?
So the interesting thing about the reverse procedure is how it works mechanically. It's proving really effective for more complex problems.
Like what?
Things like certain complicated fractures near the shoulder, severe arthritis where the rotator cuff tendons are badly damaged or torn.
Ah, the rotator cuff.
Exactly. In those cases, a traditional replacement might not work as well because the damaged rotator cuff can't stabilize the joint properly. The reverse design compensates for that.
So it's opening up effective treatment for patients who maybe didn't have great options before.
Precisely. It addresses a challenging set of conditions, which explains why its use is growing so quickly.
That's really clear. Okay, so we know the procedures. Where are these actually being done? Who are the end users?
The report looks at three main end-user segments: hospitals, ambulatory surgical centers, ASCs, and orthopedic clinics.
And I guess hospitals are doing the bulk of them currently?
You'd be right. Hospitals hold the largest market share right now. They handle the high-volume, complex cases, revisions, patients needing longer stays. It all adds up.
But there's a trend, isn't there, towards more outpatient procedures, moving surgeries out of big hospitals.
Yes, and the report definitely reflects that. The ambulatory surgical center segment, the ASCs, is showing rapid growth.
Why the shift to ASCs?
Several reasons. They're often very efficient for specific types of procedures, including orthopedics. They can sometimes offer lower costs compared to a hospital stay for the same surgery.
Right, cost is a big factor.
And also, the rise of minimally invasive techniques makes more procedures suitable for an ASC setting where patients can, go home the same day or soon after.
So efficiency, cost, technology, all pushing towards ASCs. Okay, let's zoom out again. What are the big underlying forces pushing this whole market forward? The main drivers.
We've touched on some already: the aging population, rising arthritis rates, but technology is huge here.
Right.
Advancements in the surgical techniques themselves, especially minimally invasive approaches.
Hmm.
Also, 3D printing.
3D printing for shoulder joints.
Yeah, for creating patient-specific implants or surgical guides. Imagine getting a joint replacement component that's literally custom-made for your exact anatomy. That's becoming more common.
That sounds like it could lead to better fits, better outcomes.
That's the idea. Better fit, potentially longer-lasting implants, and just general innovation in the materials used for the implants, making them more durable, more biocompatible.
And you also mentioned the growth of that reverse shoulder procedure earlier.
Definitely. That's a key driver, too, expanding the pool of patients who can benefit. So it's really a mix: demographics, lifestyle, and significant technological progress.
Seems like a strong tailwind. But are there, brakes on this growth? Any major challenges or restraints?
Yes, the report does identify a couple of significant ones. Cost is a major factor.
The cost of the surgery and the implant itself.
Exactly. These are expensive procedures and devices. That high cost can be a real barrier, especially in healthcare systems with less coverage or in developing economies.
Makes sense. Access and affordability. What else?
The other point is the availability of surgeons with the right expertise. Performing these replacements, especially more complex ones, requires specialized training and experience. A shortage of these experts in certain areas can definitely slow things down.
Right. You need the tech and the trained hands to use it effectively. Important constraints. Okay, what about emerging trends? What's new and exciting on the horizon?
Two big trends mentioned are robotics and AI.
In the operating room for shoulder surgery.
Yep. Using robotic assistance for greater precision during surgery, helping with implant placement accuracy, maybe even using AI for better preoperative planning based on patient scans.
We hear a lot about robotics in surgery. Seems like it's really making inroads here too.
It is. And the second trend is ongoing R&D into the implant materials. A lot of interest in advanced metal alloys and new types of polymers, always looking for that perfect balance of strength, flexibility, longevity, and how well the body accepts the material.
Fascinating. Better materials, smarter tools. So who are the companies leading the charge in this space? Who are the key players?
The report names several of the big established medical device companies. You've got Johnson & Johnson Services through their DePuy Synthes division.
Okay.
Stryker, Zimmer Biomet, Smith plus Nephew. These are major names in orthopedics generally, and they're prominent here too, along with others.
And what's their strategy? How are they competing?
Generally, it involves a heavy focus on R&D, pushing those technological advancements we talked about,
Yeah.
also forming strategic alliances, maybe acquiring smaller tech companies, and definitely focusing on expanding their reach globally.
Especially into those fast-growing regions like APAC.
Exactly. They're looking at where the future growth is likely to be strongest. Innovation and expansion seem to be the name of the game.
Okay, so just to quickly bring it back to the geography for a moment, remind us who dominated in 2025.
That was North America, largest market share, driven by that combination of an aging population, high rates of sports injuries, and importantly, a very well-established healthcare infrastructure that supports these kinds of advanced procedures.
Right. And the fastest growing region projected forward.
Still, Asia-Pacific, highest expected CAGR, again driven by aging populations there, increasing diagnosis of arthritis, and also the factor of medical tourism becoming more significant in some APAC countries.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground. Let's try to summarize the key takeaways from this deep dive.
Sounds good.
So in 2025, the global shoulder replacement market is already substantial, close to $500 million US.
Right, USD 472.54 million. And it's projected to grow significantly, potentially hitting over USD 900 million by 2033.
Driven by that strong 8.6% CGR. Regionally, North America leads now.
But Asia-Pacific is where the fastest expansion is expected over the next several years.
And the core reasons behind all this growth.
It boils down to aging populations globally, more people needing solutions for joint problems, combined with more sports injuries, and critically, ongoing advancements in medical tech. Better implants, better surgical techniques, like minimally invasive and reverse replacements.
It paints a picture of a dynamic and evolving market. So considering everything we've discussed, the growth, the regional shifts, the tech, robotics, and 3D printing, here's a final thought for you to chew on. What do you think could be the next really big leap, the next game changer in either the technology itself or maybe how people access this surgery that could reshape this market even further in the coming decade? Definitely something interesting to keep an eye on.